counseling that don't get a license?
Yes.
Well, then why get a license?
Absolutely. Well, because now to be licensed in the state, all right.
Okay.
All right, so that gives you that obviously gives you the status of a licensed counselor. You can charge a certain amount, but but people recognize that you're under the authority of the counseling structure there in that state.
Okay.
All right. So, but other people might receive counseling in very specific areas, training for counseling in specific areas.
Okay.
And so without having to become licensed within that state. So, for example, I do biblical counseling, right? So although I have an undergrad degree in child and family development and master's degree in theology, and we're about to complete a doctorate in ministry. I have, that's right. I have those degrees, but that didn't mean jack in regards to being a licensed counselor. And I would never even portray myself to be one. Although I do what I would call biblical counseling.
Okay.
And so I apply biblical concepts along with practical things within, marriage or in parenting, and give counsel to people for example, in our congregation, or to those in the community that come to me that are seeking out help for a specific issue. So
Okay.
I don't mind providing counsel for that. But I'm very quick to say, hey, I usually only do a few sessions. If it's going beyond that, then I recommend people to professional counselors that are licensed.
So why are you allowed to do that?
Well, because anyone, to be honest with you, can say, hey, I'm a counselor. And doesn't mean that they are. That's why you have to look into, all their training, their education. Are they licensed or are they not licensed?
So you just woke up one morning and put counseling in your LinkedIn work experience.
Right. Because actually, words like counselor are not protected by any governing authority.
But therapist is?
Even a therapist is not. Yeah. So you have to, if you.
This is why all this is bullshit.
Well, it's because it does allow for people without training to practice as counselors or therapists.
So I could be a therapist.
Sure.
Well, what am I doing here?
Man, I don't know, dude.
All right.
Yeah. So you could just be like, hey, I'm gonna do therapy. Now I think you have to figure out what that looks like for you. What would you be a therapist in?
An office.
You're going to be an office therapist.
Yes.
All right. What would you do as an office therapist?
Listen.
Very good. Very good.
And provide words.
Listen and provide some practical advice.
And whenever they stop talking, I say something.
Okay.
Yes.
Or you asking her a question to allow them to continue on in their talking.
Right.
Until you complete a full 45-minute session that you can then charge for.
Yeah.
Okay.
Except my sessions are going to be an hour and a half, so I always make that much money.
That's a long counseling session.
$500 an hour.
So you're going to walk away with $750.
I'm going to make up some business cards.
Okay, do it, man. Go for it. Because really, there's no legal precedent that says you can't say that you're that. It's kind of wild. So
are you sure that's true?
Yeah, I'm 100% sure that's true. Yeah, they're just not legally, because so for example, even psychologist is not a protected word. Because so if you have a degree, let's say you have an undergrad degree in psychology, okay?
Oh yeah.
Then you could say I'm a psychologist.
Right.
So and that's not a legally protected word. So for example, in my background with child and family development,
I don't know why I knew that.
Yeah.
But that's been referenced somewhere to me before in life. And
okay.
I remember that.
Yeah. So for example, for me with child and family development, it's basically a degree that takes psychology and sociology of families and structures and puts it together. And I could walk around and say, I'm a psychologist of families.
Well, why don't you?
And development and the development of the family. No, like that's because I'm not going to present that I'm an expert on something that I'm not.
So the whole thing is about the state approving you and not.
Yeah.
And not whatever you went through.
Right. Because like if I have an undergrad degree, right, in psychology or sociology, and say, oh, look at me, I'm a psychologist, right? No, like, I mean, you could say that, right? I mean, you actually could say that.
And there's no one stopping you from getting paid to be a psychologist.
Correct. Yeah. Yeah. That's why I think you've got to know, like, when you go seek out a counselor or a therapist, you've got to really know, like, what their degrees are actually in and are they licensed or not.
See, that's too much work when I'm already messed up and looking for a psychologist.
Yeah, well, thankfully, when you find...
This is why... This is you know what I mean?
I know. But thankfully, like, when you find a counseling practice, like a group of counselors, like, they are more than likely, they're going to be licensed. Okay. And so, but it is something that people need to be aware of. Like, are they state licensed? There's a group in our area, and they're very upfront with the fact they're biblical counselors. They have a pretty good sized practice, but they are not licensed by the state because they're not portraying to be like expert psychologists, for example. They're saying we are biblical counselors, and that's fine, but it has its limitations.
What a bunch of nonsense.
It can be at times, yes.